Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle one of the most honestly fascinating challenges in modern business. We are doing a deep dive to explain the details of this specific topic, the paradox of turning invisible online energy, all those likes, shares, and trending conversations, into cold, hard, quantifiable data. Let's frame this up with a scenario we see all the time. Imagine a brand, right? Their tweet goes absolutely globally viral, reaching millions of people. Yet, at the end of the quarter, that massive spike results in exactly zero increased sales. Zero! Now, contrast that with a tiny niche community discussion on a subreddit that barely cracks 10,000 views, but somehow drives massive, highly qualified revenue. Have you ever looked at that huge disparity and wondered, what is that attention actually worth in dollars and cents? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack for you today.
Okay, so here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover measuring the immeasurable, revisiting brand spending, mastering online branding, the actual measurement methodology, and finally, calculating social media worth. Let's get right into it.
We have to start with this absolutely crucial core concept, digital resonance. It's kind of the ultimate, elusive target of every modern strategy. When we talk about resonance, we aren't just talking about making noise or shouting into the void. Honestly, noise is incredibly easy to generate, but resonance, that actually borrows a concept straight out of physics. It happens when your brand's message vibrates at the exact same frequency as your audience's core interests and behaviors. It's like a giant tuning fork. And the result is this compounding effect. When those frequencies align in a business context, the outcomes are literally profound. You see drastically reduced customer acquisition costs because your audience is out there doing the amplifying for you. You achieve higher organic reach that algorithms naturally prioritize, and you build a fiercely defensive brand loyalty. It creates an undeniable buzz. But, a buzz remains just a gut feeling until we can rigorously define and measure it.
Now, this quote comes directly from our source material, and it just perfectly hits the nail on the head regarding the massive challenge we're facing. Think about those three words: branding, buzz, and social media. Historically, these have completely defied traditional financial modeling. And what happens? This creates intense friction within organizations. It's that classic tug of war between the chief marketing officer and the chief financial officer. The CMO knows, in their gut, the buzz is critical for long-term health, while the CFO is sitting there demanding to see the immediate ROI to justify the spend. Branding, buzz, and social media are inherently fluid, right? They're driven by perceptions, weird semantic nuances, and fleeting moments of attention that change by the hour. Figuring out how to translate those rapid, subjective shifts into a definitive price tag, that is the holy grail of modern marketing analytics.
So let's jump right into Section 1, Measuring the Immeasurable and the Paradox of Buzz. You see, we're dealing with a pretty profound central friction here. On one hand, you have the wild, completely abstract nature of digital interactions. This is the velocity of mentions, the shifting tides of user sentiment, the totally unpredictable life cycle of a TikTok trend. Buzz is undeniably real when your brand is in the middle of it, but man, it is notoriously difficult to capture and hold on to. On the other hand, we have our concrete, rigid business goals. We are tasked with quantifying value, calculating customer lifetime value, proving conversion rates, and ultimately, driving revenue. Successfully translating the abstract energy of online chatter into concrete mathematical worth is the bridge we have to cross. And the reason this bridge is so incredibly tough to build is that traditional attribution models often just fail completely when dealing with dark social. Those private shares and direct messages where the real, authentic buzz actually happens?
Which leads us nicely into Section 2, revisiting brand spending and why making a shift is absolutely necessary.
If you want to truly adapt your budget for the modern era, you literally have to follow a strategic progression. It all starts right here with revisiting your brand spending. You simply cannot apply old-school linear spending metrics to something as dynamic as digital resonance. Legacy models expect a clean input-to-output ratio. It's like buying a billboard on the highway and estimating passing traffic. While social media absolutely does not behave that way. You have to willingly revise how you allocate resources, moving away from just buying guaranteed reach and instead investing in potential engagement. From that realization, you move to learning the deep nuances of online digital environments, and that sets you up for the critical phase of implementing the actual measurement methodology. Only by mastering these steps in this exact order can you confidently calculate the actual worth of your social media investments, completely ditching those useless vanity metrics.
All right, moving on to Section 3, mastering online branding. This is really our foundation.
So before we even think about touching a calculator to do the math, we absolutely must master these core mechanics. Mastering online branding requires diving deep into the advanced mechanics of digital platforms. It's really about understanding how a brand breathes and resonates within complex algorithms. You've got to master community management, knowing exactly when to step into a conversation and, crucially, when to step back and let the community guide it. You need to leverage user-generated content, not just as free advertising, but as a critical, real-time barometer of your brand's health. And furthermore, understanding semantic sentiment is paramount. Actually, let me stress that. It is not enough to just know people are mentioning your brand. You must understand the underlying emotional context of those mentions, and you have to do it at scale. If you don't intimately understand the specific, nuanced environment where the buzz happens, any numbers you spit out later are going to be entirely meaningless.
Now we're getting to the really fun part. Section 4, Brand Measurement Methodology. Let's open up the toolkit.
This breakdown proves that the immeasurable can actually be segmented, rigorously tracked, and analyzed. Let's look at exactly how this toolkit functions through its 3 core components. First up, branding metrics. And we are going way beyond simple follower counts here. We're talking about quantifying your share of voice within your specific industry, utilizing brand lift studies, and tracking unprompted brand recall after your digital campaigns. Next, we roll out the buzz analytics. This is where we measure the actual velocity of mentions, like how fast is a conversation spreading like wildfire. We use natural language processing tools to conduct a deep sentiment analysis, scoring the actual human emotion behind the text. Finally, we evaluate social media impact. This is what bridges the gap to financial reality. We track click-through rates, analyze bounce rates from social referrals, and rely heavily on multi-touch conversion attribution to see exactly where a social interaction fits into a complex buyer's journey. Combining these elements, that gives you a seriously powerful toolkit.
And finally, we reach our destination. Section 5, Calculating Social Media Worth, the final equation.
By applying the toolkit we just talked about, we don't just capture good vibes and qualitative excitement, we run it through a concrete calculation to determine quantified brand value. Let's look at how these metrics actually combine to create financial reality. While every organization's exact formula is going to vary a bit, a standard framework involves multiplying your deeply weighted engagement rate by your semantic sentiment score, and then tying that aggregate directly against your average order value or customer lifetime value. This equation is brilliant because it filters out the noise. Think about it, a super high engagement rate combined with a negative sentiment score creates a negative multiplier, meaning a massive viral public relations crisis won't magically inflate your brand value on paper. Conversely, highly positive sentiment interacting with high-value customers yields a massive return. Mastering this specific mathematical approach allows you to convert qualitative buzz into a quantifiable financial asset, one that will absolutely stand up to intense scrutiny from your CFO in your next budget meeting.
Because honestly, the cost of relying on guesswork in today's digital landscape is just way too high. When budgets get tight, the assets that cannot be mathematically quantified are always the first to be cut. But as we've seen today, there is a concrete mathematical methodology to measure what was once thought entirely immeasurable. So I want to leave you with this thought to reflect on. Looking at your own digital footprint today, do you actually know what your digital resonance is worth in cold, hard dollars and cents?